She collapses, right in the middle of the hospital's executive hallway, dropping to the polished floor like her body finally gave up. Exhaustion hits her hard, and no one moves. Nurses stare. Administrators whisper. She's just a janitorial temp to them, someone they can step around. But then the hallway goes quiet. The hospital's mysterious owner, the man no one ever sees up close, walks out of a restricted office. He looks at her, then at everyone frozen around her, and before anyone can react, he bends down and lifts her into his arms, leaving the entire hallway stunned and silent. Before we start, tell us from which city are you watching from, and don't forget to drop your thoughts at the end. Enjoy the story. Her name is Marley Grant, 26, born and raised on the south side of Chicago, in a neighborhood where buses ran late, groceries cost too much, and people learned early not to expect help from anyone. Marley grew up in a cramped third-floor apartment above a closed laundromat, with peeling paint on the windows and a heater that groaned louder every winter. Her mother worked double shifts in a nursing home. Her father disappeared before she learned to spell her own name. Marley wasn't bitter. She simply learned to make do. And from her mother, she learned the one creed repeated before every shift, every school morning, every hard day. We stand on our own feet. It was the only rule she trusted. Rely on yourself. Don't owe anyone anything. Don't ask for help unless you want it thrown back at you later. By the time she turned 26, Marley had worked every low-pay job possible. Dishwasher, cashier, warehouse picker. None steady enough to allow her more than a few hours of sleep each night. But she refused to complain. Complaints didn't pay bills. Complaints didn't buy the inhalers her little brother still needed. Complaints didn't stretch the $6.25 she kept in her pocket. Her emergency bus fare. Her tiny symbol of independence. The one thing she never spent, no matter how bad things got. So when she got accepted as a temporary cleaning assistant at North Cross Medical Center, one of the richest private hospitals in the city, she took it as a sign. Not a miracle, but a chance to breathe. The shiny floors and well-fed staff reminded her daily of the difference between where she came from and where she worked. Still, Marley kept her head down, worked harder than anyone asked, and held tightly to her mother's words. We stand on our own feet, even if those feet were always tired. For the first time in years, Marley had a crack in the wall of her life. A small chance that might actually lead somewhere. Her supervisor had hinted that if she kept showing the same steady reliability, she could be moved from janitorial duty to a clerical assistant position in the administrative wing. It wasn't glamorous, but it meant a regular schedule, better pay, and maybe even health insurance. For Marley, it felt like someone had briefly opened a door she'd spent her whole life knocking on. If she earned that spot, she could finally help her mother cut back on overtime. She could buy her brother's inhalers without counting dollar bills 3 times. She could stop choosing between groceries and rent. Just a little more income would mean breathing room, something she hadn't felt since she was 17. But the opportunity was fragile. Temporary workers were disposable. One mistake, one complaint, one wrong word could make the offer disappear as quickly as it came. A hospital didn't hesitate to replace people who slipped. So Marley pushed harder, worked longer shifts, and stayed calm even when others tried to shove extra tasks onto her. She told herself she could handle it. She had to. The day it all unraveled started quietly, too quietly for a hospital. Marley had been reassigned to the executive hallway, the kind of place where the lights were warmer, the carpets thicker, and the voices softer. She took it as a good sign. Maybe they were testing her before offering that clerical spot. Maybe someone finally noticed her work, But just as she finished wiping down a marble counter, her supervisor, Lydia Hart, approached with tight lips and a clipboard hugged to her chest. Lydia wasn't cruel, just the kind of person who needed someone below her to feel tall. "Marley," she said sharply, "we need to talk. Now." Two administrative assistants lingered nearby. A few doctors walked past. Even a couple of interns slowed down, sensing drama. Marley felt every pair of eyes digging into her back. Lydia held up a small hospital tablet. "This went missing from a patient room yesterday. Someone reported seeing you in that hallway." Marley blinked. "I clean every hallway, but I didn't take anything." Lydia crossed her arms. "Then, why was it found in your supply closet this morning?" The words hit Marley so hard she lost her breath. Her supply closet? She was sure she'd locked it. She always did. I never saw that thing," she managed. A whisper rippled through the hallway. One of the assistants muttered, "It's always the temps." Another added, "Quieter, but not quiet enough. She looks exhausted, probably desperate." Lydia angled her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "I've tried to give you chances, Marley, but theft is grounds for immediate termination. You'll have to report this. Termination." The one opportunity she had, gone with one lie. Marley felt heat crawl up her neck, burning her cheeks. She looked at the faces around her. No one looked back with kindness. No one spoke up. People who'd seen her mop floors for hours, help nurses with heavy bins, cover shifts without complaint. They all watched her like she was exactly what Lydia claimed. Someone had set her up. She knew it. But her voice cracked when she tried to defend herself. "Please, I didn't." Lydia cut her off. "Enough. Gather your things." Marley's knees wobbled. The combination of back-to-back shifts, skipped meals, and pure humiliation collided all at once. The hallway swayed. Her vision blurred. Someone gasped, and then she hit the polished floor, her body giving out completely, surrounded by whispers and judgment. On the other side of the executive hallway, inside an office most employees believed was empty half the year, Dr. Adrian Northwood paused mid-meeting. He was the reclusive owner of North Cross Medical Center, a man whose name appeared on plaques more often than in person. People whispered about him, about inherited money, unreachable standards, rumors of coldness. He ignored most of it. He'd built a habit of staying behind closed doors, hidden from the hospital floors where pain and politics collided. But today, a rising swell of voices leaked under his office door, sharp and uneasy. Then, a thud, a heavy one, something that didn't sound like a dropped clipboard. Adrian stepped out, leaving two board members frozen mid-sentence. He wasn't expecting chaos, but there it was. Staff gathered in a wide circle, their faces twisted with gossip, discomfort, and curiosity. In the center of it, a young woman lay crumpled, her uniform wrinkled, her cleaning gloves fallen beside her like two small, helpless flags. His jaw tightened. He recognized the supervisor, Lydia, as she tried to regain control of the moment. He'd seen her file, efficient, but inflexible, the kind who treated power like a personal podium. "What happened?" Adrian asked, his voice steady, but carrying enough weight that people automatically stepped aside. Lydia, startled. She wasn't expecting him. "Sir, she fainted. After an incident. We believe she stole a patient tablet. It was found in her supply closet." Adrian's eyes moved from Lydia to the unconscious woman. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow. Dark circles bruised the skin beneath her eyes. Whoever she was, she looked like someone who had been working far too hard for far too long. "Who reported her?" Adrian asked. Lydia hesitated a fraction too long. "A staff member said they saw her near the room." "That's not what I asked," he replied, his tone thinning to something colder. Murmurs rippled outward. Staff exchanged uneasy glances. Adrian knelt beside Marley, noticing details the others seemed determined to overlook. The state of her shoes, worn at the soles, the faint tremor in her hand, the tiny paper packet of crackers peeking from her pocket, likely her first food of the day. He lifted the fallen tablet Lydia had displayed like evidence. The lock screen showed a timestamp. It couldn't have been in Marley's closet at the time Lydia claimed. Something wasn't right. Someone was lying. "Get her some space," Adrian's voice cut through the hallway. But no one moved fast enough for him. So he acted himself. He slid his arms under Marley's slight, exhausted frame and lifted her effortlessly. The entire hallway went silent, because no one had ever seen the owner intervene. Not like this. Not for someone like her. Adrian didn't ask permission. He didn't wait for a nurse. He simply turned with Marley in his arms and started walking down the hallway, straight past Lydia, past the whispering assistants, past the doctors who suddenly found their shoes very interesting. People parted instinctively, stepping aside like they were clearing a path for something they didn't fully understand. The man who never appeared on the hospital floors was suddenly carrying a temp worker as if she were the most important patient in the building. "Sir, she needs to be checked into ER," one doctor finally called out. Adrian didn't stop. "Then meet us there," he said, his voice low, unshakable. Lydia hurried after him, flustered. "Dr. Northwood, I assure you this isn't necessary. The matter can be dealt with internally once she's conscious." He paused only long enough to turn his head slightly. "You accused an unconscious employee of theft in front of half the administrative staff. The matter is very much external now." Several people winced. Lydia froze. Adrian continued down the hall, adjusting his hold on Marley. She was frighteningly light, her body limp against him. A faint tremor ran through her fingers. She smelled of cleaning chemicals and cheap soap. Clean, hard-working, utterly exhausted. And beneath it all, the faint scent of skipped meals and sleepless nights, something he recognized far too well from childhood visits to the underfunded hospitals his family donated to, but never truly understood. Downstairs, the ER staff scrambled the moment they realized who was carrying whom. A gurney was rushed over. Adrian gently lowered her, but when a nurse tried to wheel her away without proper vitals, he stepped closer. "Slow down," he said. "She fainted from exhaustion, not a minor inconvenience." "Yes, sir," the nurse murmured, startled. As they checked Marley's pulse and blood pressure, Adrian turned back toward the cluster of staff who had followed them. Lydia stood at the front, pale and rigid. "Until further notice," Adrian said, "no disciplinary actions will be taken against Marley Grant, and the tablet investigation will be reviewed by my office." Gasps, a few whispers, the room shifted. Lydia swallowed. "Of course, Dr. Northwood. But nothing," he said. "This conversation is over." He stepped aside, letting the medical team work, but didn't leave. He stayed close, arms crossed, not protectively, but resolutely, as though he'd decided something no one else was privy to. For the staff watching, the message was unmistakable. The hospital's silent owner had taken a side, and he chose the girl no one else defended. End of sentence. By the time Marley woke hours later, the ER lights had dimmed into evening mode. Her head ached, her throat felt dry, and a blanket she didn't recognize was tucked around her. Before she could sit up fully, she heard a familiar voice, stern, tired, and trembling with worry. Her mother, Joanna Grant, stood at the foot of the bed, arms crossed, eyebrows tight, the stance Marley knew meant trouble. "Molly Elaine Grant," Joanna said quietly. Why is the owner of this hospital calling me at work to tell me you collapsed? Marley's stomach tightened. Of all the things she'd feared today, this one somehow felt worse. Ma, I'm fine, just tired. Tired doesn't make you faint in front of executives. Joanna's voice rose, then softened, the way it always did when fear hid under anger. You've been running yourself into the ground. I told you, we stand on our own feet. Yes, but that doesn't mean we break our own bones doing it. Marley swallowed. I didn't need his help. I didn't ask for it. Joanna stepped closer. Sometimes help comes because someone sees what you won't admit. Pride won't pay our bills, baby, and it won't keep you alive. Marley looked away, embarrassed. If I accept help from people like him, I'll owe them. That's how the world works. Joanna shook her head. Not all help is a debt. Some help is a chance. Before Marley could argue, the curtain slid open. Adrian Northwood stood there, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Joanna stiffened, but didn't step back. Adrian nodded to her. Mrs. Grant, I'm glad you're here. Then to Marley. We need to talk, not about blame. About the truth. Marley clenched her jaw. Two worlds, two values, and she stood caught in the middle. One telling her to stand alone, the other insisting she shouldn't. As soon as Joanna left to speak with a nurse, silence thickened between Marley and Adrian. Marley pushed herself upright, ignoring the sting behind her eyes. She hated hospital gowns, hated weakness, hated lying in a bed while the person who'd carried her here stood looking at her like she was some fragile thing he'd pulled out of a fire. Whatever you want to say, she muttered. You can save it. I don't need pity. Adrian raised an eyebrow. I didn't offer pity. You carried me through half the hospital. You collapsed, he replied calmly. What was I supposed to do? Step over you like everyone else? His tone wasn't cruel, but it cut. Marley's fists clenched around the blanket. You don't understand. People like me, we don't get rescued by people like you. It comes with strings, expectations. Someone always wants something back. Adrian's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed even. If I wanted something from you, Marley, I wouldn't be standing here asking nothing. That's not the point, she said. Now the whole hospital thinks I'm some charity case you swooped in to save. I wasn't thinking about optics. Well, everyone else is, she snapped. They already think temps are one bad day away from stealing. Now, they think I'm weak too. Adrian stepped closer, folding his arms, not confrontational, but steady, grounding. You collapsed because you were overworked and humiliated in front of your peers. That's not weakness. That's the cost of being pushed too far. Marley looked away. Her throat tightened. She didn't want him to see how close she was to breaking again. You don't get it, she whispered. I've spent my whole life proving I can carry myself. My family creed. We stand on our own feet. If I start leaning on someone like you, even a little, I lose that. I lose me. For the first time, Adrian's expression softened. Not pity, but recognition. I was raised with the opposite, he said quietly. Never show weakness, never show need. Different words, same trap. Marley shook her head. That's not the same. You have an entire world behind you. And you, he said, have been carrying an entire world alone. The words hung between them, heavy and true. She didn't thank him. He didn't expect her to. But something had shifted, something uncomfortable and unavoidable. She realized he wasn't her savior. He was now tangled in the truth of what happened, whether she liked it or not. And Adrian realized he hadn't stepped in just to correct a lie. He'd stepped in because for the first time in years, he'd seen someone fall who shouldn't have been left on the ground. Neither of them knew what came next. But both understood this wasn't over. The next morning, Marley expected termination papers, not a meeting request. She walked into a small administrative office, still wearing yesterday's exhaustion. Adrian was already there, standing beside a stack of documents and an open laptop. His posture was straight, clipped, professional. Nothing like the man who had carried her through the hallway. "Sit," he said. Not an order, not a kindness, just a necessity. Marley hesitated. "If this is about yesterday." "It is," he replied. "And about what happens next." He slid a folder toward her. Inside were investigation logs, access timestamps, staff reports. The pieces of a puzzle she hadn't realized anyone else cared to solve. "The tablet incident wasn't random," Adrian said. "Someone planted it, and I intend to find out who." Marley frowned. "Why involve me?" "Because you know the staff better than I do," he answered. "You see things in the hallways I never get to see. And you deserve your name cleared by the truth, not by my authority." She swallowed. Cooperation meant accepting his help. Accepting his help meant bending the creed she'd lived by all her life. He waited, patient but unyielding. Finally, Marley exhaled. "Fine. What do you need?" Adrian pushed a second folder toward her. "A joint review of staff schedules, supply closet access logs, and maintenance reports. You'll work with me for the next few days, discreetly." "Work with you?" she echoed, skeptical. "This isn't charity," he said. "It's an investigation, and you are part of it whether you want to be or not." Marley crossed her arms, then slowly, reluctantly, nodded. For the first time, they stood on the same side of a problem neither of them asked for. Not partners by choice, but by circumstance. A quiet, uneasy alliance had begun. Their unlikely partnership forced them into the same corners of the hospital. Storage rooms, staff lounges, executive meeting spaces. The contrast between their worlds followed them everywhere. Marley walked with the weary caution of someone used to apologizing for existing. Adrian walked with the confidence of a man whose presence knocked doors open before he even touched them. Yet the more time they spent together, the more those differences stopped feeling like walls and started looking like mirrors. On the third day of their investigation, they found themselves in a cramped records room in the basement, one of the few places where no one would eavesdrop. Marley sifted through access logs while Adrian read incident reports, both working in a silence that wasn't hostile anymore, just focused. At one point, Marley muttered, "These logs don't make sense. Someone edited the timestamps." Adrian leaned closer. "The IT department wouldn't do that without authorization." "Exactly," Marley said. "Someone higher up wanted this pinned on someone lower down." The truth both chilled and steadied her. This wasn't about her at all. She was just convenient. Adrian exhaled, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "This hospital is supposed to be a place of integrity, but the more I look at this place through your eyes, the more I see the rot." Marley paused. That wasn't something she expected from a man like him. "My eyes?" she asked. "You see everything I don't," Adrian replied. "Everything I'm expected not to." Marley studied him for a moment. He wasn't wearing his suit jacket today, just a button-down rolled at the sleeves. He looked tired. Not physically, but in a way she recognized deeply. "You don't like being the owner, do you?" she said quietly. His expression didn't shift, but his silence answered for him. "My father built this hospital," he finally said. "My name keeps it running. Every board member expects perfection. Every investor expects results. If I show weakness, the whole place fractures." Marley's eyebrows lifted. "So you're trapped by expectations." Adrian glanced at her. "And you're trapped by survival." The words settled between them, heavy, undeniable. Marley looked down at the log sheets in her hands. "You know, I used to think people like you had it easy. And I used to think people like you endured because you chose to," he replied softly. She let out a small, humorless laugh. "Guess we were both wrong." For the first time, they weren't speaking as boss and worker. Not as rich and poor. Not as accused and rescuer. Just two people who had spent their entire lives carrying weight that no one else cared to see. And in that dim basement room, surrounded by paper records and flickering fluorescent lights, they reached a quiet, mutual understanding. Both of them had been alone for far too long. It happened in the staff conference room, one of the busiest public spaces in the hospital. A meeting had been called to address professionalism and conduct, but everyone knew it was really about the tablet incident. Lydia stood at the head of the table, already shaping the narrative with clipped authority. "As I stated before," she began, "the evidence pointed to Miss Grant. We must maintain standards." Adrian entered mid-sentence, Marley beside him. The room stiffened instantly. "Actually," Adrian said, his voice calm but unmistakably final, "the evidence pointed elsewhere." He placed a folder on the table. Inside were corrected timestamps, access logs, and security footage. Gasps rippled through the room as staff recognized what the documents proved. Lydia had manipulated the logs to cover for an administrative assistant she favored. Someone who had accidentally taken the tablet home. Marley didn't speak. She didn't need to. Adrian stepped back, not in front of her, but beside her, and nodded toward the stunned faces. "Marley Grant is cleared of all accusations," he said, effective immediately. Lydia's face drained of color. The assistants looked down in shame. For the first time, Marley stood in the center of the room, not as the lowest employee, but as the person who exposed the truth. And people had no choice but to see her. Later that evening, Marley returned to the same executive hallway where she had collapsed days earlier. The polished floor looked different now. Not threatening, not cold, just a hallway. A place she had survived. A place she had changed. Adrian joined her quietly, holding an envelope. "No ceremony," he said. "Just the truth you earned." Inside was her new contract. Full-time administrative staff. Benefits included. Her name printed without hesitation or footnote. Marley stared at it, stunned. Not charity. Not rescue. Recognition. Adrian extended a small item toward her. Her own worn bus card with $6.25 still loaded. "You dropped this the day you fell," he said. "Thought you might want it back." Marley took it slowly. That small amount of money had always meant independence. Tonight, it meant something else. She hadn't lost herself by accepting help. She'd simply learned she didn't have to stand alone to stand strong. Then, behind them, staff passed quietly, offering nods instead of stares. Lydia had been suspended pending review. Order had shifted. Truth had held. And as Marley walked toward her future, Adrian stayed back, not claiming her victory, not overshadowing it, just watching with the soft respect of someone who had finally learned what courage looked like. That hallway where she collapsed had become the hallway where she rose.
Some stories don't end with grand speeches or dramatic miracles. Sometimes they end with a quiet step forward, a reclaimed breath, a truth finally spoken aloud. Marley learned that strength isn't measured by how long you stand alone, but by the courage it takes to rise after the world tries to break you. And Adrian learned that even the powerful can be humbled by honesty. If this story touched you, remind someone today that dignity matters. And if it made you feel something, like, comment, and subscribe for more stories just like this.